Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and today on the podcast, are $10 lattes in our future. Who knows? But let's explore if that's a possibility. And before we get started, shout out to the Coffee Roasters Mastermind group coached by Ante Bikic. If you're interested in joining, head to the show notes for details. So are $10 lattes in our future? The reason this is a really interesting discussion is because the way that our industry approaches running our businesses is when we have to get more profitable, businesses generally look to cut costs. And over the years, what that has meant is that our overall profit margins for our businesses have gone smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Now, where that's led us is to an industry that operates on razor-thin margins and what's called a race to the bottom when it comes to cutting our costs for our COGS, our cost of goods sold. Now in 2021, we find ourselves in a very interesting situation. And the situation is that there are a number of compounding effects that are causing stress on our business models from across the entire supply chain. And that is presenting us with the very stark reality that there are no more costs to cut. And so if we use the mechanisms that have been traditionally our go-to in the coffee industry, which is to cut our costs from our cost of goods sold, that is almost certainly going to end up with a business having to close. And the reason is because of inflation. Everything is going up. The cost of labor is going up. The cost of rent is going up. The cost of our utilities are going up. The cost of coffee is increasing because of supply and demand economics. We've got all of our other cost of goods sold increasing in prices. We've also got things like internet services, and we've got telephone services and our subscription services online. All of these different things are all increasing in prices because their costs are going up. And so if all of your costs are going up, you going into your cost of goods to cut prices is no longer going to work. So I hear you saying, well, I could just reduce the number of staff that I have. I get about 4 to 5 posts a day of businesses that are shared with me about different businesses around the world that are having to reduce their hours or reduce the days that they trade because they cannot find staff. So cutting your staffing is going to become harder. Right now, everybody's trying to find staff. Also add to that the fact that the pandemic's not over. And, I can tell you here from Sydney, Australia, we're over 10 weeks of being in lockdown, and we have at least another 4 weeks and most likely another 10 to 12 weeks here in lockdown. And businesses are experiencing a very different reality this lockdown than they did at the beginning of the pandemic almost 20 months ago. So with all of these compounding factors, how do businesses get profitable? And for the last over a decade, we have been saying that we need to raise coffee prices. But because we have this perception in the market that coffee should be cheap, by the vast majority of consumers, it's been very difficult to raise prices. And, rightfully so, small businesses are scared of what happens to their business if they raise their prices. There has never been a better time in our industry to increase prices in a fairly comfortable way, because consumers understand that inflation is a thing now. And the stark reality of it is our product is undervalued. And the reason I say it's undervalued is because producers are not getting paid enough. Employees are not getting paid enough. And unfortunately, and quite surprisingly for what a lot of people might think, business owners, the vast majority of business owners are not getting paid enough. It will surprise a lot of people to know that the vast majority of cafe owners are not on the extravagant wages that most people think they are, or that they lead you to believe that they're on. Of course, there are business owners out there that are on great money. But I can tell you, as someone who coaches a lot of people and who has consulted to a lot of businesses over the last 6 years, I can tell you that the reality of the situation is that most small businesses in the coffee industry live paycheck to paycheck. And what's happened in the last 20-ish months with the pandemic has really lifted the veil on those situations. And as we go deeper and deeper and deeper into the pandemic, that reality is becoming more apparent. So will we get to $10 lattes? I don't know. But I can tell you that I wouldn't be surprised if we see $8 lattes. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that happening sometime within the next 12 to 24 months. And a conversation that I recently had with Alejandro Cadena is a really great example of all the reasons why we need to embrace this moment in our industry and take the opportunity to help manage our customers' expectations around what's happening, and particularly around pricing. Now is the time, folks. Sure, you will get less people buying lattes or whatever the products are that you're selling. You will sell less of them. But for every one that you sell, you are increasing your profitability if you do your pricing right. And from the work that we've been doing with clients to help them understand how to price coffee, whether it be in the cup or roasted, and how we've helped them do cost breakdown analyses, and help them understand what is the structure of a profit and loss statement or an income statement, has really helped people understand how much they're undervaluing their products. And it has to change. It's going to have to change across the industry, because if you don't increase your prices, you simply won't survive. I hope this has been helpful. If you need help trying to understand this in your business, please reach out to us and we can have a conversation about how you could engage our services. They're a lot more affordable than you might think. But if you found this valuable, do me a favor, like or rate this episode and help us grow the content. Peace, love, and peanut butter, friends. Have an amazing rest of your day.